The Answer. Portions of the following program may be pre-recorded.
The following program is sponsored by Max Out Savings Advisors. The views expressed during the broadcast are solely for entertainment purposes and do not necessarily express the views of KNTH, its management, Max Out Savings Advisors, or its sponsors. Max Out Savings Advisors and members of the Max Out Savings team may or may not hold securities mentioned during the show. Plan for your prosperity. Prepare for your retirement. Safeguard your savings. And nurture your investments. This is the Max Out Savings Show with Ted Gioka, a presentation of Max Out Savings Advisors. Now, here's your host from Max Out Savings Advisors, Ted Gioka.
Good morning. Welcome to the Max Out Savings Show. Our show is all about saving money, building up wealth, and understanding the world today. Our motto and our philosophy is to save aggressively and invest conservatively. That's the key to building up wealth over the long term. Save aggressively and invest conservatively. The show's been on the air for over 15 years now, and I think in a couple of years we have 20 years on the show. It's one of Houston's more popular financial radio shows. It's because we try to bring you good information. We try to help you out to understand retirement, understand where you need to go in the world today, and how to get there. And of course, it always starts out by saving as much money as you can. Save aggressively. Put away a minimum of 20%. Of 10%. This is a minimum. And into your company plan, and then from there, just collect the typical. There's a company match. Collect that, and then build up the savings in a tax-free plan, qualified plan. You get a tax deduction, and then you get tax-free growth. So this is how you build up wealth. It's the surest way to become a millionaire. Multi-millionaire is this way. It's called income-based savings. So if you're making $30,000 or $300,000, you get the same results. It's actually in many ways, due to the cutoffs of savings on the 401k plan. Sometimes it's even harder if you're making that $300,000, believe it or not, because there's so many extra bonuses for lower income people in these programs. So these things will work for anybody, and just put that money away. We're going to be talking on the show today about more stuff happening with President Trump. We're talking some interesting movements in the gold market. Gold hit. We've been talking about gold here for a number of years, and here it is. It's 29. 28.87. It hit $2,900 this week. It's actually out over the last 3 years. Has outperformed the S&P 500. Interesting. You're still not hearing a lot about it. We'll be just talking about that on the show today. Talking about some of the other issues that we're seeing out there. Some of the value of high quality corporate bonds, I think, are misunderstood there. And we've read about all this stuff in our Max Out Savings Report. It comes out once a month. We just sent it out Friday. If you didn't get it Friday late in the afternoon, check your inbox and check your junk box. Sometimes it's in there, spam filter. But we send it out once a month. If you didn't get a copy, sometimes when people say, Ted, I'm not getting the copy of the report, send me an email. We'll put you on the list. Just go to the website, maxoutsavings.com. You can sign up for it, or you can just send me an email at ted@maxoutsavings.com. We'll get you on the list. We have a lot of interesting things on there. We try to get ahead of what else is happening in the world, ahead of everybody else. And I think we tend to come up with some big themes ahead of most people. So what do we do? Interesting. The report this week, started out talking quite a bit about Donald Trump and on the show, and this is it's really retirement savings report and stuff. But I think Donald Trump is just such a force right now, and he is restructuring the government that it's important to bring it up, because all these are huge changes that are happening. If you look at it, there's been times in history when things change. The famous, there's years when nothing happens, and then there's when days when everything happens, quote, and I don't know who that was ascribed to, Lenin or someone like that, Marx, who knows, but but I think we're in one of those times where the things are happening in days, and if you look at it in our concern, one of the reasons why we built such big positions for our clients in the precious metals is because, look, I mean, we're borrowing money we've got $36 trillion worth of debt and some change. It's on target. If things keep going the way they are, we're going to have $40 trillion worth of debt. At the end of the year, we're borrowing $1 trillion every 100 days. The government is spending. I think it's like over 40% more than it was in 2019. It's crazy what was happening out there, and so it was going to be Kamala Harris, which it's just astonishing to me. I mean, I cannot even imagine what the world would have been like if she would have won, but. It was Donald Trump, and Donald Trump won the election on a mandate for change. And if you really look at it, if it would have been a halfway fair election with the media at least being biased, a little less biased, I think you'd have picked up. I think if you ran the election today, he'd probably get two more points. I really do, or more. I think people are fed up with this stuff. But here's a fascinating thing. Donald Trump has been working, 18 days or something that he's been in power. I mean, 18 days, and look what he's done. And we write in the report, what he appears to be doing is he appears to have studied Franklin Delano Roosevelt. And Franklin Roosevelt coined the term first 100 days. And they were in the midst of the Depression. Things were pretty bad, and he realized they had to make changes, big changes, quickly. And he moved decisively. He issued 100 executive orders, which I think was a record up until Trump came in office. During that time frame, they passed 15 bills, farm reconstruct, all types of different major things. He had a much stronger majority in Congress, and Trump can't do that. But as we write in the Max Out Savings report, this is one reason that we have the Doge Commission, because he doesn't have a huge majority in Congress. So he's got to make big changes, which is executive orders and the Doge Commission to uncover the wasteful spending. And I got to tell you, this show has talked about wasteful spending and government spending, and I think I'm reasonably pretty sophisticated. I haven't been shocked about what has come out of this. They've been in there for 18, 19 days, and I am shocked what's coming out already. I mean, this U.S. aid, USA aid, which is just astonishing. It's like what was it? A transvestite opera in Peru or Bolivia or somewhere like that. It's just all the most ridiculous stuff on planet Earth was coming. And then we find out that the New York Times and Politico are being paid by this group. And if you look at it, Terry Lake made the comment, well, can't tell you how many negative stories Politico ran about me. And so what you had is you had a federal agency interfering in a senatorial election. And these are very serious things. And it's just shocking. I mean, it's one ridiculous thing out of another. It appears to just be a gigantic slush fund for George Soros projects all over the world. And that's just one agency. And they're finding this stuff all over government. I've seen some numbers that the COVID relief, with the get your refund from COVID relief, it might be $100 billion of fraud. I mean, the enormity and the corruption in government. I really think you have to go back to Roman times to ever see a country be this utterly bankrupt, corrupt, morally corrupted, bankrupt as the United States was. I mean, there's other countries you got to pay people off and it takes bribes and everything else, but these people were if I go and bribe somebody in the government to, hey, I'd like you to get this bill passed or do something, I go to jail. But what these people were doing is They were just paying people off on the other side with government money. I mean, it's like, hey, here's my money. I'd like you to do something. The government was sitting there and paying people. If people wanted something done, the government would then pay them as part of the deal. They'd get kickbacks. It wouldn't be kickbacks. It'd be under consulting or some other thing. I genuinely believe you have to go back to Roman times to see the level of corruption. Keep in mind, in corporate America, as we've talked about on the show, is anyone that's worked in corporate America knows that there's constant reshuffling. There's efficiency programs. There's layoffs. All types of things. They're always trying to improve the company, make it more efficiency. There hasn't been a layoff in government since I don't know when. They never lay anybody off. It's just incredible. There was no restructuring. There was no restructuring of the government under George H.W. Bush. There wasn't any restructuring of the government under Clinton. Under W. Bush, there wasn't. Under Obama, there wasn't. Under Biden, there wasn't. Under Trump one, frankly, there wasn't. Nobody has restructured this government. And here comes Elon Musk, who's a really bright guy, but honestly, it doesn't take a rocket scientist to go through the government and just point out this obvious ridiculous corruption going on, but he's doing it. He's a brilliant person, and he's doing it. Somebody had to get in there that had some understanding, and he's brought in a lot of young people. This is the hallmark of FDR, and particularly John F. Kennedy Jr. You know, Kennedy came in. They had young people. They had the whiz kids come in. They had these very smart young people come in and restructure, the government and make big changes. I mean, over the last 25, 30 years, all these cabinet people, all these people they brought in, they bring in these old guys that are just part of the establishment, and it's just business as usual. So these are big, big changes happening. This is going to affect the markets. This is going to affect things around the world. We're dealing with tariffs. The tariffs are coming out. I mean, we did a quote. We didn't really do a tariff deal with Canada or Mexico. They just agreed to talk for 30 days and then see what they come up with. These tariffs are still coming in many cases because they realize that they can get income coming in, and this is one. And what do we talk about at the start of the show? $1 trillion worth of spending every 100 days. 36 and some change $1 trillion is going to be $40 trillion. Spending is utterly out of control. 40% more, over 40% more than it was in 2019. Think about that. With that 5 or 6 years, the government spending is 40%. That's extraordinary. But what this means is we're headed. This thing was a rock. Was a train heading downhill at full speed with the curves coming up, and they weren't going to stop it. And we were going to go off the tracks. We were going to end up in most likely a hyperinflation hyperinflationary depression. That was the only thing that happened because they had to just keep spending money, creating more debt, printing money, and that's where we were going. And so Donald Trump realizes that, hey, we have to make big changes. Secretary Bissett, I mean, these guys he's well trained. He's a very, very, very shrewd money manager that understands big systems. And they realize that, look, we have to act very quickly to get these changes put in place so we can stabilize our finances in the United States and regain control. If we don't do that, people are going to lose confidence. They're going to be putting up $20 billion worth of 10-year notes or 30-year notes for auction or whatever, and there won't be enough bids. And then all of a sudden, the rates go up 2 or 3 points, and all of a sudden, keep in mind, we're already spending over $1 trillion in interest payments. What if it goes to $2 trillion or $3 trillion? At that point in time, it's just game over. It's hyperinflation or default time, one or the other. And so he is moving quickly. This is why this is why Elon Musk took the job. He didn't need this. I mean, honestly, if there was one job Elon Musk didn't need, it was this. It was because, hey, he knows he's going to make enemies. People aren't going to buy the Teslas if they're upset with what he's doing. It could affect him others. But he realized that he was not going to be able to do what he was going to do. There was going to be no manned ship to Mars or anything else if the country ends up in collapse. And he realized he had to go in and try to fix this mess if he was going to do the big things he wants to do in the world. And something to think about. And so fortunately, these guys understand the gravity of the situation that we're in, and they're making big changes. So hopefully it's going to work. I want to talk some more about this after this quick break right here on the Max Out Savings Show.
The Max Out Savings Show with Ted Gioka is taking your calls now at 713-339-1070. Ted Gioka will return after these messages.
Hi, I'm Sam Malone, the owner of Houston's cutting-edge media company called 512 New Media. At 512 New Media, we create amazing videos that companies use on their websites, telling their story in bold colors with exciting animation and graphics. At 512 New Media, we also shoot television commercials and instructional videos. And if you want to show off your business from the air, we're ready to go with our drone video aircraft. Let us help you create your media message. We're online at 512newmedia.com or call 281-822-8803. 512 New Media is Houston's only media creation and distribution company that's actually owned by someone who's currently on the air. And that gives us an incredible edge when creating content for consumers to use on their laptops, tablets, and smartphones. Standing by to create your message, we're 512 New Media, 512newmedia.com.
Hi, this is Ted Gioka of the Max Out Savings Show. Our motto and philosophy is to save aggressively and invest conservatively. The world is changing at a faster rate than any time in the last 50 years. The investment world has changed. Have you changed? Inflation will destroy your retirement. It is a different world that requires different strategies and ideas. The era of indexing and investing is over. If you need help, listen to the Max Out Savings Show. Our show airs every Saturday at 10 a.m. and Sunday at 7 a.m. We talk about investments, the world, and where the world is going today, and help you understand it and help you save money and build up wealth. It's the Max Out Savings Show. And if you need some help, go to our website, maxoutsavings.com. That's maxoutsavings.com. On the website, you can sign up for the free Max Out Savings Report. Our report covers all types of these big issues, the changes in the world, and helps you understand and protect your retirement. So go to the website, maxoutsavings.com.
We return now to the Max Out Savings Show. Here's Ted Gioka.
Welcome back to the Max Out Savings Show. Wanted to just touch, also mention one of our sponsors, which is Rangoni Gin. It's a botanical gin from the Italian Alps. They have some of the finest organic botanicals in the world up there. These people have been making these botanical drinks in the mountains for thousands of years, and they know how to put together just phenomenal products. And this is a very flavorful gin that's botanical, all organic, all natural, pure mountain glacier water put together for a phenomenal drink. It's called Rangoni Alto Gin. Look for the Kingfisher bird on the label. You can get it at Specs or Total Wine and other liquor stores around town. A couple. So we're just talking about this. So Elon Musk is coming there. They're making changes. They're making cuts. They're going from one sector to the other, figuring out what the cut. He's finding Elon Musk. Okay, remember. What is about $1.8 trillion, give or take, deficit that we're dealing with right now, and a couple things. Okay, stick with me just a second, Charles. So we've got that. It's going to take us probably $200 billion to sit there and clean up the fires in California due to these idiots that can't do their job out there. We've got to spend several $100 billion or more building up our military, which we have real issues with there, and we still have to help out other people. So we're looking at probably we got to spend $400 or $500 billion. Well, where's the money going to come from? We're borrowing $1 trillion every 100 days. We've got $36.5 trillion worth of debt. Spending is out of control. Yeah. So if Donald Trump wants to put in tax cuts, so $200 billion there, $200 billion there, defense and the car cleanup, he wants to put in tax cuts as well. And he'd like to help out the middle class and maybe do an equipment tax credit for write-off to put in new factories to encourage it, and maybe something with the SALT deduction to help out people with these high home price areas for their tax deductions. If he puts all those tax breaks and does that, the dollar's going to collapse and interest rates are going to skyrocket. So he's got to make changes. So what he's got to do is he has to find cuts elsewhere in the government to do this type of stuff, and he has to regain the world's confidence in the United States of America, that we're not just a bunch of reckless, drunken sailors out on shore leave when it comes to spending money. So the way you do that is the DOGE program, is his spending cuts that he's doing. Elon Musk is finding $4 billion a day in spending cuts. That's pretty good. He hasn't even got the Defense Department, which I guarantee you there's enormous amount of savings in these weapons procurement programs if you sit there and work on maybe eliminating some regulations and some requirements, making some of the system's a little more simple and more battlefield redundant, and it's something that's not going to fail the minute it gets on the battlefield. It's so complex. But in Medicare, they think there's billions of dollars in Medicaid fraud. He's not going to cut Medicaid. He's not cutting Medicare. He's not cutting Social Security. But they're going to take a hard look at people that are grifting the system, dead people collecting Social Security checks. I mean, it's just one thing after another out there. But all of that money goes to savings to help people, to give them tax cuts. He's going to use the tariffs to create more income that way. That's why you're seeing all these big changes. Again, we're 18, 19 days into this. This is why you're seeing these big changes. These big changes are going to affect things. It's going to create more volatility. He still has to remember, we got the debt ceiling ending in March. Maybe they can drag it out to April, but they still have to get a budget deal April time frame in there. So he's got big, heavy lifting to get done. That's going to leave a lot of look. The Democrats are figuring in the Davos globalist people. They're trying to take him out. They're going to try to figure a way to do it. So there's going to be this huge battle. So this isn't oops. You're going to see more volatility, but good things are happening. He's doing what everybody wanted him to do. He's doing that no one actually, frankly, thought was even possible, which is exciting. And we have big changes. And thank God Donald Trump is doing what he's going to do, but it's not going to be easy. Let's take a quick call from Charles. Hello, Charles. Welcome to the Max Out Savings Show.
Good morning, Ted.
Morning, Charles.
Yes, just two questions, actually. The first being real quick. Has Tulsi Gabbard and Robert Kennedy, have they been voted in yet, or I don't know when that vote's supposed to schedule?
I think they're out of committee. They have to be voted on. I think they're doing something called cloture. They're going to be voting. I'm looking forward to these two. I really want to see who on the Democratic side votes for RFK, because he was a Democrat. And he wants to do what a whole lot of Democrats want to do. I think it really puts the spotlight on the Democrats if they vote against RFK. The problem is RFK violates the sanctions, not sanctions, but the special things of the democratic religion, which is an absolute, the infallibility of vaccines. But so we'll see. But yeah, they haven't been yet.
Oh, okay. Because time's marching on here, and I know Schumer and these people seem like they're dragging their feet. But I think I forget the gentleman's name who's not having any of it. I think he's going to. I was hoping that perhaps maybe they'd vote this week, but I guess it'll have to be next week because they can't keep dragging this stuff off. Tulsi Gabbard, I guess, is part of the national security director. So, we got to have these people in place. And, I mean, this business of not voting, to me, is getting to be ridiculous. The second question, Ted, and maybe you might provide a little color on it, is what do you know about the progress in this tax bill and all as far as the House and the Senate? Have you heard anything?
Yeah, that's just, they're trying to get something done. I tell you what, I think they're really trying to do is the reason why Elon Musk is moving so quickly. They're trying to figure out, hey, what type of spending cuts in savings can we get through the Doge Commission that we can present to Congress and say, guys, look, we found these savings here, so we're going to put those in, when it comes into the spending situation. And so that would be that is what I think they're trying to do.
Do you think they'll be able to do that and the border and all in one bill? I hope they can, but I mean, I don't know if
that's a tough call. That's a tough call, and I'm not sure on that. But that's a good question, Charles.
Okay. All right. Well, thanks a lot.
Sure thing, Charles. And that's John Thune is the head of the Senate. I think he's doing a good job of pushing these through, and the Democrats, they're just getting steamrolled. One other thing with Joni Ernst, that's an interesting one because she's director of intelligence, national director of national intelligence. Well, I kind of thought the director of national intelligence was Joni Ernst was in an office and she had a team of maybe 30 people around her that were coordinating with the NSA, CIA, the Defense Department working together, and it has there's 1,500, 2,500 people in this agency, and they have kind of taxing ability on the other agencies to collect more money for their. It was another just huge bureaucracy that was kind of in place. It's how did this thing get? So they're going to try to streamline that and push these people back into their agencies and make it more streamlined. But everywhere you look in government, it's just been remarkable. But I can take any successful organization in the history of the world, any successful company, any successful government, and I can destroy it with a bureaucracy. And that's something that we should really – and this is why it's so important to clean up this bureaucracy. So, so anyway, those are some of the things we're looking at in here with this Doge Commission. It comes out, they're going in Department of Government Efficiency. They're going to get remember the $4 billion a day he's finding. So what he's hoping to do is maybe find $300 or $400 billion worth of savings that they can present to Congress that they can integrate in the bill. And this is what we're looking at. But the Democrats, they're going to try to gum this up, and this is why it's going to be interesting. Now we've got about 65,000 government employees have decided they're going to take a payout and leave, which means you're going to have savings there. But that's also going to increase unemployment. There's probably going to be a lot more than 60, and they're probably going to do layoffs after that. So you could see some slowdown in the economy. The whole strategy here is they need to stabilize the situation. They need to restore confidence. If there's a slowdown from all this stuff, you want to have now. So by 2026, which is next year for the congressional elections. Keep in mind, we got 2 or 3 advantage over the Democrats in what's her name, the governor Herschel, whatever her name, the governor up in New York. She's delaying one of the elections up there for I think Congressman Stefanik because she's went into the government. Because they're trying to slow things down and narrow the majority. So they've got to, by the middle of 26, they've got to get the economy kind of coming back. People are real happy for congressional elections so they can maintain control. And that's what there's a real plan. As we talked about earlier, look, he studied FDR, Franklin Delano Roosevelt. If you look at it, longtime listeners of this show, I don't know if they remember. Well, that was a long time ago. We had Amity Shlaes on, who wrote brilliant Arthur. She wrote the book The Forgotten Man, which, if you haven't read it, is a great book on the Depression. And her comments really was a lot of the link to the Depression was really caused by Roosevelt's socialist policies. Trump is trying to pull a Roosevelt, put like a conservative free market Roosevelt. And he studied JFK, and he studied particularly. He's seeing what FDR did, and FDR was able to come in and do a big shock and make big changes quickly, and was able to get a lot of stuff through. The other thing he's talked to Milei shut down agencies in China, in Argentina as well. So a lot of it's interesting. This is going to lead to a lot of volatility up there. And so we'll kind of see where it all goes from there. Now, a couple other things I wanted to just touch base on today. Where do I want to go? I got a whole. Oh, I know what I'm going to talk about. It's a fascinating story in the Wall Street Journal Friday about a place called Smoke Tree Ranch, which was cool. It's an exclusive community in Palm Springs. It's called the Secret Society. That's home to some of the richest families in the United States of America. Well, that's interesting. But that's not what was really interesting about this story is. It's on like 400 acres. They have 100 homes on it. Now, from what I've just said, you would think that this place is out there and they've got these huge homes, looks like Kim Kardashian's home, and it's one ridiculous thing after another. No, these are modest ranch-style homes, most of them one story, some of them are two ranch-style homes that are out there. This has been around for a long time. Walt Disney was one of the people in it. I think it's been around since the 1930s or 20s, but it has dirt roads on it. There are no street lights. There's no mailboxes. There's no street signs. They're little homes. And they have a central kind of area with a pool, and they have a commissary kitchen where they have dinners, and most people go down. They'll have dinner at certain time of day. They'll all go down for dinner, and it's like a little community. Most of these people and these homes aren't cheap. These homes are $3-4 million a piece. They basically look like they look like just an average 1960s, 1950s track home type of things. Nothing spectacular at all. You don't go build a big palace there. Yeah, and these are very, very wealthy people, but it's fascinating because you can't get into this place. The houses do not come up for sale. They're kind of passed around and it's kind of a gated community, but it's not because these people want to hang out with this big secret society. They like being in a closed-in place where life is very simple. They said the houses, most of them have little kitchens because people go and eat at the commissary. It's very simple. They don't have lawns or anything. There's kind of dirt around the house, and they finally let pools in. Some people decided they wanted a pool. They finally let people put a pool at their house, but it's very, very simple. Why this is demand is not because these people want to be around a bunch of rich people. They like that atmosphere of a little town, of a small town, of a simple life. That's what most people value versus this kind of ridiculousness that society has taken on today. And I think this is a fascinating story. I think you'll see more places kind of like this. There's a number of them out there where people are building, $10 million homes that are kind of palaces. But by having the smaller home and by having the commissary right nearby and, having the pool, the central pool, people kind of all got to know each other and it's more like a community. That was the real secret of it. And so people are like, wow, this has got such a special community. I want to be part of the community. And that's why, smaller towns, tend to do better overall. This is why you see so many people in Houston wanting places in the country because they like being around people in the country. They see the guy down the road, they wave at him, and so that's what people generally want. But I find it just fascinating about this place that is so special to people. It's so simple. It's really rudimentary. It's kind of like an old west town. They're able to come up with something special here, and I think you're going to see more of that in the future. And by the way, this is one reason why this is kind of somewhat off subject, but I really think Houston should break up Harris County into separate smaller towns like Dallas. But that's another story. We won't go there. But fascinating story. And again, all these homes out there are very simple homes. Most of them, from the 20s and 30s. They don't, they might be fixed up inside, but they don't. No one's building a, Kim Kardashian type of. People don't want to be, and they don't want those type of people in these places. They want low key people that are happy to be around other people. Fascinating story. It's called Smoke Tree Ranch. Tell you what. We're coming up here in a break in a minute. A couple things. If you haven't gone to our website to sign up for the free Max Out Savings Report and get a chance, you can go do that. It's maxoutsavings.com. And also, if you want to give us a call, you can call us up at 713-339-1070 if you've got any questions or comments right here on the Max Out Savings Show. We'll be right back.
If you've got savings and investment questions, Ted Gioka has answers. Call the Max Out Savings Show now at 713-339-1070. We'll be right back.
In the 1970s, the big song was the Bee Gees' Staying Alive. Well, it was difficult back then to stay alive if you were a retiree. Inflation was running rampant, and since then, over the last 25 years, it's gone away. Well, inflation's coming back, and it's going to endanger your retirement. If you're a retiree, inflation is your biggest enemy. Hi, this is Ted Gioka of the Max Out Savings Show. If you need help with your retirement, I'd like to help you out. Go to maxoutsavings.com. That's maxoutsavings.com, and we'll show you how you manage through inflation. Don't let inflation destroy your retirement.
Hey everybody, Charlie Kirk here. Ted Gioka, the founder of Max Out Savings Advisors, always says, save aggressively and invest conservatively. He specializes in helping people grow their retirement account with as little risks as possible. Ted combines working knowledge with the intuition gained from over 25 years of experience of value investing in the stock and bond markets for retirement accounts. Like you, Ted is deeply conservative in life and in his investment approach. His risk strategy allows him to anticipate market downswings to protect your money. Ted is also the conservative host of the Max Out Savings Show. You can listen to him every Saturday morning at 10 a.m. right here on The Answer. If the idea of saving aggressively and investing conservatively appeals to you, the best way to get to know Ted is to call him. The number is 713-627-0400 or visit maxoutsavings.com. That is maxoutsavings.com. Call Ted right now, 713-627-0400, or visit maxoutsavings.com.
This is Ted Gioka, host of the Max Out Savings Show, one of Houston's most popular financial radio shows, celebrating over a decade on the air in Houston, Texas. With stocks at record high valuations and interest rates near record lows, you need to have your guard up. You need to have a plan to manage risk to your retirement. Do you? At Max Out Savings Advisors, we have a risk-based value investing approach to your retirement. If you would like some help managing your retirement, go to maxoutsavings.com to set up an appointment. That's maxoutsavings.com.
If you can snap your fingers, you can find this radio station. So the next time you want to listen to us, your smartphone is now your smart radio. We're always on. This is AM 1070, The Answer.
We return now to the Max Out Savings Show. Here's Ted Gioka.
Welcome back to the Max Out Savings Show. One thing we want to talk about is we're just talking about the Smoke Tree Ranch, which is just a fascinating story about it. Really, I think it really is almost says that it's almost a kind of a picture of the future in a way where they built this old, it's like an old Western town type of thing from the 1930s that nobody changes anything in with dirt roads because they like the area of community. When people go, I think they even have in some cases have little place settings with people's name at the table. Everyone goes to eat kind of commonly, and so everybody gets to know people and creates a sense of community. A fascinating story, but a couple of things happening here in the world. Gold, as we talked about, 29, almost hit 2,900 this week, up almost 8%, almost 8% year to date. This is after having a great last year. It's continued on, and silver's the same thing. There's interesting. So since November of last year, there's been about 400 tons of gold has moved from the London Gold Exchange to the COMEX Gold Exchange in the United States. And they're thinking it's got to do with the tariffs, but it just every once in a while spikes like this. But this has gone on for 3 or 4 months now. It doesn't seem to be slowing down, and I'm not completely convinced it's the tariffs. I think it has something to do with short covering. There seems to be the cost to borrow the GLD, which is Spider Gold shares, and the SLV have skyrocketed here as well, and they're very hard to borrow, which means there's a lot of people either short, and I'm not sure. I think what maybe is happening is I think this has to do with some people that are shorting the physical gold are either trying to get out of it and covering it out and trying to go the other way with the GLD or something in here. There's been enormous buying of gold by central banks around the world and the Chinese. Keep in mind, the Chinese are restricted from buying cryptocurrency, so their real estate market has gone to hell. The Chinese are basically like people in the late 1970s that have been hit by in 80s, where you had that real estate bust. Oh, okay, yeah, just a second, Larry. So they've been hit by the real estate bust. They've lost a bunch of money. They're losing money on stocks and bonds. And looking at gold and silver going up every day. And the Chinese are big trend followers. And so they've been piling in huge amounts of gold and silver. They continue to go higher. It's this inflation around the world. The inflation just isn't in the United States; it's elsewhere. And keep in mind, the higher the dollar goes, the lower the Chinese yuan, the euro, the Japanese yen, all these other currencies. The lower they go, the better gold is doing even better in their currency. So big moves in gold. I mean, you would think gold somewhere here would have some consolidation and pull back. We still really like the gold stocks. I don't think they're pricing in. I think that gold stocks are probably pricing in about maybe $1,900 gold, maybe $2,000 gold, and gold is at almost $2,900. Yet I think it's interesting. I think silver is lagging. I'm surprised. Almost every big move in gold, silver goes up to $50 somewhere in the move, and that's not inflation adjusted $50, so it can be a lot higher. And it's right now $32 somewhere in there, and so I think we still like the sector overall, and I think silver is going to be the one that's going to probably move up quicker right now. I think gold really consolidates, so this is something we want to kind of continue to watch and see what happens here. So anyway, those are a couple of thoughts. These are big moves. No one can really quite figure out why. 400 tons is an enormous amount of gold. The borrowing, the surge in borrowing of the GLD, something is clearly happening. It could be a short squeeze. There's huge demand for precious metals around the world. And remember, there's infinite supplies of dollars. And this is what makes gold and silver so valuable. You can't print it. And so we still like to say, let's take a quick call from Larry to the Max Out Savings Show. Welcome to the Max Out Savings Show, Larry. Larry?
Can you hear me?
Oh, yeah. Go ahead.
There you are. So I had a comment and a question. First of all, in response to the comments you've been making this morning, I was listening last night to Christopher Rufo. Some of your listeners may be familiar with him. He's the one who's exposed so many of these companies that were doing DEI under the covers, trying to keep it secret from their customers. Anyway, he was saying this is a very pivotal moment in our history. What we're seeing is we're being revealed what's going on in our government in a way that we've just never seen it before. And that's why it's so important for people like Musk to take action and turn this around. He also noted this is an excellent example of the difference between merit and DEI. He said Musk had hired these 4 young 20-something software people to help root out what's going on in this USAID. Can you imagine if he went and got some DEI hires? What would the difference be? So anyway, this is a pivotal moment. But anyway, the question I had is, where do you see CD rates going for the year? They've been slowly coming down. Do you see it continuing to decline or go back up or what?
I think they're going to stay this way at least until there's some type of settlement with the debt ceiling and the budget. And then I think they could, if we get lucky, they could decline after that.
Okay.
Now the economy, I think they maybe drift a little bit lower because I think the economy will slow a little bit somewhere in here, but I just think it's real hard for the Fed or anyone to do anything with Fed funds until they really get an idea of what's going to happen with that budget deficit and the debt ceiling.
So at the bank and the credit union where I'm at, they do fairly decent percentage rates on very short term, like 3-month term CDs, but longer term they fall off pretty quickly. So I'm not sure what they're thinking, but I guess they don't want to get caught in a squeeze or something.
Yeah, the thinking is rates are going to come down, and later this year, and so you did get a kind of a drop off. You could still get about 4.2 or something like that on the treasuries out a year or so out, and so that. That's not a bad. I would kind of put it. I would not do 3 months. I would keep it a little longer, just because if rates do plunge, then you're going to be re-upping at 3.5% or 3.25%. Whereas if things just go badly within a year, you won't have much marginal loss at that point in time, and so that's kind of how I would look at it right now. Looking out. The lowest, the 1 year, just to give you an idea, this is the yield curve right now, is on a 3 month, it's about 4.35, 4.25 on the treasuries, and then 4.3 on 2 year. And then actually it goes up longer term. The 10-year's at 4.50. So I'd probably look. You can actually see that's where most people seem to be buying right in the 1 year. You could buy 18 months, or you could buy 9 months in there. That's what I would do.
Okay. And then lastly, have you thought about doing something like Politico and maybe having $1,000 subscription to your newsletter that you could sell to the government? I mean, you could make a lot of money on this.
But I think I need to look into that, but it would be $10,000 at least per subscription. I'd want them to do a minimum of 20 subscriptions. And that was genuinely shocking, because Politico's been trashing Republicans all over the place, and then to hear that they're on the government payroll, it's like, honestly. I mean, I think Stalin's like, why didn't I think of that? I mean, it's just incredible.
Yeah, it is, isn't it? It's amazing. Anyway, Thanks again.
Thanks, Larry.
Bye.
Just a good point about treasuries here. It's a good segment I wanted to discuss now. And one of the things we write about in our report is on difference between governments and corporates. At Max Out Savings Advisors, we manage retirement money. And my philosophy is different for other people. What I try to do is we try to make money. We want to make good money, but at the same time, we're always watching out because we don't want to get caught in some type of big disaster. And so we tend to be pretty paranoid and always looking for how can we avoid a problem out there. I mean, this kept us out of the trouble. In 2007, for instance, we said, look, some of the investment banks were going to fail. We wrote about it in the Max Out Savings report. We said, look, we put their balance sheets in there. So this is the only thing I was wrong on. I said I thought it'd be Lehman Brothers. It was actually Bear Stearns first, and Lehman's ultimately failed. But what we So we just stayed out of the financial sectors. And so we're always kind of looking, and it doesn't cost, there's not a lot of lost opportunity. If it costs a whole lot of opportunity costs to avoid a problem, then maybe you take a bigger risk and go. But if there's not much lost opportunity cost by avoiding a potential problem. And right now, things are very unstable with the U.S. government. I mean, they're trying to cut the cost. I think it's pretty positive, and things are really going our way. But I wonder if something happens where the globalists get control or something, or they can't get the budget deal done, if they default. By the way, I don't think that's going to happen. That's not really in any type of our thinking. It could be, but really, but down the way, if they just can't control spending and the economy somehow spirals out of control, and they have to default, or they have to say, look, everybody's bonds now become 10-year bonds at 4%, and interest rates are 6 or 8, and that's just it. And so if that were to happen, so what we want to do in a crisis like 08 and 09, in 2022, where the markets were, our bond market had 100-year losses, and I think the S&P was down 18%. We were actually up, but the reason is because we're trying to figure out what could go wrong, and we try to avoid the problem. And so we when the market's up gigantic, we're not quite up quite as much clearly. But what we're really doing, we're managing money long term for people's retirement. And so looking at that, one thing we've looked at is the corporate bonds. If there's ever a default or a gigantic crisis in the United States, and keep in mind, we're talking you're going to be around for 25 or maybe 30 years at retirement. I don't know what's going to happen. But if high grade corporate bonds have a pretty good record of holding up in defaults and getting some of your payments back, even if they default, the good ones. And if you buy the certain types, whereas most governments, the only ones that haven't, well, the UK, they said maybe did with some World War I bonds, but that's up to debate. But I think it's Australia, the United States, and a couple others, and that was it. Everyone else has defaulted. So if you can buy like a AA or a AAA bond, we tend to be AA. Or even we look at the rating, so we're shifting some of our longer term bonds into corporate bonds, and our process, we look at the ratings of the bonds, but we also study the industry and the companies, because after we've been in this business it dealt with numerous crises, more people even can dream of. We kind of have an idea of what type of companies will hold up in very bad situations, and be it the junk bond crash, be it the financial crisis, all those things. And so we buy certain industries that we think are much more stable in times of panic, so to speak. And financials aren't them, tech companies generally aren't them, but someone like a oil company, railroad, those things we know they're going to be there and be around. And so we can buy them. We're getting paid more than U.S. government debt, by the way, but we're also getting a very high quality issue. And that's the thing we're looking at right now. And by the way, we're not above it when in a crisis to go buy junkier credits later on when they're dirt cheap and we can buy them cheaply. But for now, when things are good and credit spreads are so tight, the very high quality stuff is the best, and there's not that much of it out there. There's all types of – most corporations are running their balance. They're so afraid of getting taken over. They have a lot of debt in the companies, and so it's real interesting. Anyway, that's something to think about. Oh, by the way, I wanted to touch on a story in Barron's today on Academy Sports. Look, we don't make recommendations in stocks, but it's a local company. I thought I would just comment. We do own the company. We've had it for a while, done well with it, but – this company, Academy Sports, it's fascinating for people that buy stock. Right now, they have a dividend and a stock buyback. I think that works out to be about it's trading at 9 times free cash flow. 9 times earnings. The free cash flow yield on it is 10%. They put 7.5% of their capital spending goes into buybacks and dividends, and they've reduced their capital. Their share count by 20% since 2021. Anyway, but a fascinating story. Anyway, remember the Max Out Savings Show. If you need some help, go to our website. You can request an appointment to sit down with me. It's maxoutsavings.com. Remember our motto philosophy: to save aggressively, invest conservatively. Thanks a lot.